The moment my sister's wedding toast started, I exposed the billionaire who murdered our parents. The champagne flute shattered against the marble floor. The sharp crack cut through the elegant aspen ballroom like a gunshot. Conversation stopped instantly. 200 guests turned their heads toward the sound as the violin music faltered into silence. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead, reflecting flashes of confusion across expensive suits and diamond necklaces. Red wine spilled across the pristine white tablecloth, spreading slowly like blood. And behind the stage, the massive wedding screen flickered. Walter Harrington stood in the center of the room, holding his glass mid-toast. The billionaire mining tycoon looked perfectly composed in his tailored tuxedo. His silver hair was neatly combed, his smile confident, the smile of a man who believed he controlled every room he walked into. But then, the screen changed. Instead of wedding photos, headlines exploded across it. Harrington mining fraud exposed. SEC investigation launched. Illegal safety cuts linked to deadly mine collapse. Gasps spread through the ballroom. Phones lifted instantly. Someone whispered, "Is this real?" Walter Harrington's face turned pale, then gray, then something close to panic. Across the aisle, my younger sister Riley stood frozen in her wedding dress. Her veil trembled as tears filled her eyes. Hours earlier, she had grabbed my hands in the bridal suite. "Please, Elena," she had whispered, "don't do this." But I couldn't stop, because for 5 years I had been waiting for this moment, and the man who destroyed our family was finally watching his empire collapse. My name is Elena Thorne. 5 years ago, I was just a 17-year-old girl living in a small mining town called Black Ridge, Colorado. Our town existed for one reason: coal. Every family had someone working underground: fathers, brothers, uncles, generations tied to the same dangerous tunnels beneath the mountains. My father, Daniel Thorne, was a structural engineer for the Black Ridge mine. He believed in safety, believed that if you built something properly, people could trust their lives to it. My mother, Laura Thorne, was the mine's safety inspector, which meant our dinner conversations were usually arguments about Walter Harrington, the owner of the mine, a billionaire businessman who lived hundreds of miles away in a glass mansion while men risked their lives underground. "He's cutting corners again," Mom said one night at dinner. Dad sighed. "I know." "Then why isn't anyone stopping him?" "Because he owns the company." Even at 17, I could hear the fear in their voices. They knew something was wrong, but nobody expected how wrong it really was. The night everything collapsed started quietly. It was late November. Snow dusted the streets of Black Ridge. I was sitting at the kitchen table finishing homework when the sirens started. Long, loud, terrifying. Mine collapse alarms. My little sister Riley ran downstairs in her pajamas. "Elena, what's happening?" My heart dropped. Our parents were working the night shift. Outside, emergency trucks screamed through town. Red lights flashed across the snow. People were already running toward the mine entrance. Everyone knew someone down there. For 12 hours, rescue teams worked non-stop. Massive drilling machines tried to reach trapped miners beneath thousands of tons of rock. Families gathered near the barricades, waiting, praying, crying. Riley held my hand so tightly my fingers went numb. "Mom and Dad are okay," right?" I didn't answer. At sunrise, the rescue chief finally walked out. His helmet was in his hands. His face was gray. And in that moment, I already knew. 23 miners died that night, including both of our parents. The official report came weeks later. Cause of collapse: natural geological shift. A tragic accident. The town mourned. Funerals filled the church every day for a week. But something about the report felt wrong. My father had spent his entire career studying structural integrity. He wouldn't have missed a risk like that. 3 months later, I broke into Walter Harrington's corporate office. It was reckless, stupid, but grief makes people do dangerous things. The company was hosting a scholarship ceremony for families of the victims. While everyone listened to speeches about honoring the fallen, I slipped into the administrative wing. Most of the filing cabinets were locked, but one door wasn't: Walter Harrington's. I searched his desk, his computer, stacks of printed reports, and then I found it. A memo. Short, simple, cold. Approve structural cost reductions. Reinforced support beams unnecessary. WH. My hands started shaking. They had removed critical support beams to save money. The collapse wasn't an accident, it was corporate murder. That night, I made a promise. Walter Harrington would lose everything. The next few years were brutal. I dropped out of high school. Someone had to support Riley. We moved into a tiny apartment above a laundromat. The place smelled constantly like detergent and steam. I worked construction jobs during the day, pouring concrete, installing scaffolding, hauling steel. At night, I studied engineering books from the library. If I wanted to destroy Harrington Mining someday, I needed to understand exactly how it worked. Riley tried to stay positive. She was only 12 when our parents died. Sometimes I heard her crying quietly at night. Other times she filled sketchbooks with colorful paintings of places she dreamed of visiting someday. "You'll get there," I promised. But inside, anger burned hotter every year, because while we struggled, Walter Harrington kept getting richer. Then, last year, Riley met someone. His name was Derek. She called me one morning, practically glowing with excitement. "Elena, I met someone amazing." "That's great, Ry. He's funny and he actually listens when I talk about art." I laughed. That already puts him ahead of most guys. She hesitated. "There's something else." "What?" "His last name is Harrington." The coffee mug slipped from my hand. Coffee splashed across the counter. "What?" "Derek Harrington. Walter Harrington's only son, the heir to the entire empire." "Ry," I said carefully, "you know who his father is, right?" "Yeah," she said quickly, "but Derek isn't like him." That might have been true, but the name Harrington still meant blood to me. Their relationship moved quickly, too quickly. Within 6 months, Derek proposed. Riley showed me the ring with trembling hands. "Elena, say something." The diamond glittered under the kitchen light, probably worth more than our entire building. "When's the wedding?" I asked. "In Aspen, hosted by Walter Harrington himself." That's when I realized something. This wedding could become the perfect stage. I started investigating Harrington Mining again, this time more carefully. Using fake journalist credentials, I filed information requests for safety reports. Most of the records were sanitized, but eventually a former employee contacted me anonymously. you should look at the Echo Ridge project. Echo Ridge was a brand new mine Harrington was developing in Wyoming. When I finally accessed their internal server through a phishing email to an IT manager, the truth made my stomach turn. They were doing the same thing again, cutting structural supports, falsifying safety inspections, history repeating itself. This time I gathered everything: blueprints, financial transfers, internal emails, enough evidence to destroy the entire company. But I still needed direct proof linking Walter Harrington personally, and that proof came from someone I never expected: Derek. 2 months before the wedding, Derek cornered me during a dinner at the Harrington Mansion in Denver. The place looked like a palace: crystal chandeliers, marble floors, private security guards. Walter Harrington studied me across the table like a predator. "So you're studying civil engineering, Elena?" "Yes." "Building things that last." I met his eyes. "Only if the foundations are honest." His smile tightened slightly. Later, Derek pulled me aside. "You think my father killed your parents?" "I know he did." Derek stared at the floor. Then he said something shocking. "I think you might be right." A week later, an envelope appeared under my apartment door. Inside was a USB drive, audio recordings, Walter Harrington giving orders to fake safety reports. One recording ended with the words, "Bury it like the Black Ridge incident." Derek texted me afterward. "I found it in his safe. He's been using my name for illegal transfers. Help me stop him." And just like that, the plan was complete. The wedding arrived on a snowy afternoon in Aspen. The ballroom looked like something from a fairy tale. White orchids, crystal lights, a string quartet playing softly. 200 elite guests filled the room: politicians, executives, media figures, all celebrating the Harrington legacy. Riley walked down the aisle glowing with happiness. For a moment, I almost stopped everything. But then Walter Harrington stood for the toast, and the screen behind him lit up. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "to my son Derek and my beautiful daughter-in-law Riley." I stood slowly. "Interesting speech," I said loudly. The room fell silent. "You mentioned strong foundations." Walter frowned. "Yes?" "Funny thing about foundations," I slammed my glass onto the table, "they collapse when they're built on lies." The screen changed instantly. Headlines, documents, financial records, audio recordings blasted through the speakers. "Bury it like the Black Ridge incident." The ballroom erupted, guests shouting, phones recording. Walter roared with rage. "This is sabotage." But Derek stepped forward. "No, Dad, it's the truth." Riley stared at him in horror. "You knew?" He nodded. "Yes, I helped expose him." His slap echoed across the ballroom. Security rushed forward, but before they reached us, the doors burst open. FBI agents stormed inside. "Walter Harrington, you are under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and multiple counts of manslaughter." The empire collapsed in real time, exactly like the mine he destroyed. A year later, the Black Ridge mine site became Thorn Memorial Park. Green grass now covered the scarred earth. A plaque stood near the entrance: "For those lost to greed." Riley stood beside me, holding flowers. She had left Derek after the wedding, but months later they slowly rebuilt their relationship, without the Harrington name, without the lies. "You were right," she said quietly. You didn't destroy our lives." She rested a hand on her stomach. "My daughter will grow up knowing the truth. My niece will be born in 2 months. Her name will be Hope. And for the first time in years, the ground beneath our feet finally feels solid."